Welcome to Revealing the Narc. Join me as I highlight narcissistic traits in celebrities and public figures. Everything here is in my opinion and not professional advice. If you enjoy the analysis, please like and subscribe. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. In this video, I want to rewind to Thanksgiving of 2016, and I want to read you an excerpt from Tom Bower's book, Revenge, and an article that was published around that time talking about Meghan's first Thanksgiving following the announcement that she is dating Prince Harry. I want to look at this and analyze it as though Meghan is a narcissist, allegedly, and in my opinion, Meghan Markle is a malignant narcissist. I'm not a therapist, but this is based on my experience being around a lot of narcissists. My stepmom is a malignant narcissist, and a lot of the behaviors that Meghan displays are the same ones that my stepmom displays. So I feel like I have this unique understanding of her behavior because I've seen it for decades. Before we begin, I want to set the stage. So, allegedly, Harry and Meghan went on their first date on July 1st, 2016, which is actually Princess Diana's birthday. In my opinion, I don't think that was the date of their first date. I actually think that at minimum, they met in April or May, and they dated secretly for a couple of months. During that time, Meghan was allegedly trying to really have the news break that she's with Prince Harry, and Prince Harry really wanted to keep it a secret because of his past relationship experiences. I think that he felt if the news came out, the paparazzi would swarm around Meghan. The press has had such a negative impact on Harry's life. He assumed that this would have a negative impact on his life. So in October of that same year, near Halloween, news that Harry and Meghan were dating came out. So the events we're talking about are literally 3 or 4 weeks after the public found out that Harry and Meghan are dating. When we get into the article, you'll see that the article is just jumping ahead so much. Like, they've only been together 3 or 4 months, but in this article, they're talking about marriage. They're talking about the royal family already. There's going to be a new addition to the royal family. It's just really, really strange for a couple that's only been public for 3 or 4 weeks. So let's get into Tom Bower's book. So this is on page 147 of Tom Bower's book. On November 24th, 2016, while Harry was representing the Queen in St. Lucia, sorry if I pronounce it wrong, Meghan was in Los Angeles for Thanksgiving. To celebrate the holiday, she invited her father and mother for dinner. Instead of meeting at Doria's home, Harry had arranged with Arthur Landon, an old school friend, for Meghan to use the Landons' Hollywood home. Set in a huge plot of land, the stunning mansion was empty. Thomas arrived with 2 pecan pies while Meghan and Doria cooked the turkey. Neither Thomas nor Doria had entered a house as luxurious. While both parents were impressed by their daughter's new status, there was nothing particularly unusual about the reunion. Ever since their divorce, Thomas and Doria had met regularly. Occasionally, on his return trips to Los Angeles, Thomas and Doria got back together, and that's in quotation marks, overnight in Doria's house, where she cooked a meal and washed his clothes. So I don't know if we're supposed to read between the lines of that last part, that Thomas and Doria would meet and get back together in quotation marks, but you can read into it what you may. Potentially this is describing a divorce that didn't have a whole lot of conflict, it seems. Of course, there may have been multiple years that passed between, the divorce happened between Thomas and Doria, and these, that the couple met regularly afterwards, and maybe feelings had died down. But I also wanted to look into the friend that let Meghan use the home, Arthur Landon, and I found this article that was published just recently in November 2024. The title is Prince Harry's Friend from Old Life Who Remains Closest Pal Despite U.S. Move. The pair formed a strong bond which has continued into the Duke's life in California. In this article, surprisingly, it only mentions that Doria was present in the home in 2016. So I think this is kind of suspicious. I think this is just another attempt to distance Meghan from Thomas Markle and maybe rewrite the story a little bit, because according to Tom Bower, Meghan's dad was there too, and he came with 2 pecan pies. So I think this is just another attempt at rewriting history. Just to show you how close Prince Harry and Mr. Landon are, this article mentions about their escapades in 2012 and photographs that were released when Harry was 27. After the pictures were sold to the press, Mr. Landon defended his friend and was widely quoted saying the girl who sold them was despicable. In the images, Prince Harry's, I'm not going to read that, as he hugged I'm not going to read that either. I don't want to get flagged. Another thing we can ask ourselves is, why did they use this gentleman's home? My assumption is that Harry was worried about Meghan's safety, with the press being out there and their relationship just being out in the press for 3 or 4 weeks. And I've done a video before, and I'll link it in the comments, where I believe that Prince Harry has a savior complex. And in my opinion, I believe that Meghan used this to her advantage and played the damsel in distress a lot, especially in the early days. And I think this was one of the manipulation tactics she used with him. Okay, let's continue in the book. Over dinner, their 6-hour conversation was only about old times. Meghan disclosed nothing about her new life or plans, and neither parent asked about her future. The dinner was briefly interrupted by a telephone call from Harry. In a cursory manner, the prince wished Thomas a happy Thanksgiving. He said nothing about meeting him. At the end of the meal, Thomas refused Meghan's invitation to stay the night and drove back to Mexico. In hindsight, he believed that his daughter had, in quotation marks, not yet reached the point of entitlement, end of quotation marks. Nor did she suggest that she imagined living in Britain or marrying Harry. So the first question I have is, why did Meghan and her parents only talk about the past? And what I think is happening is that Meghan wants to control the narrative. You could say that she arranged the meeting in this home because the parents were unfamiliar. This was done by her boyfriend. So she kind of controlled the atmosphere of that Thanksgiving. And by arranging the meeting on her terms and keeping the conversation focused on the past, Meghan maintains this idealized image without delving into uncertainties about the future. So an example of this could be a narcissist keeping family members out of the loop about important life changes until they feel it benefits their image to share. This is something I've experienced quite a lot with the narcissists in my family. They keep a lot secret, and I really never understood why that would be, because they do create this artificial sense of intimacy, but again, it's artificial, right? So it's not truly an intimate relationship because they're not sharing with you things that are big and important that might be happening in their life. And this leads me to the second reason I think this might be happening, and that's to limit emotional connection. Narcissists view relationships often as transactional, and they may not prioritize deep emotional connections even with their parents. Meghan's brief time with her family and lack of future-oriented discussion reflects a lack of genuine closeness. So an example of this might be a narcissist that schedules short, controlled interactions with family in order to maintain appearances but avoid deeper engagement. Meghan could also have a fear of criticism or disruption. By keeping her parents' distance, she's avoiding any questions that could be asked, any criticisms that could come out about her budding relationship with Harry. This would reduce the risk of her father saying or doing something that didn't align with her narrative. And this immediately reminds me of Meghan's relationship with Gina Nelthorpe-Cowan, where when she told Gina that she had gone on a date with Harry and it had gone well, Gina said, be careful, things might be, I'm paraphrasing, things might get a little bit complicated, and Meghan shut down that conversation and said, I have no time for negativity. So she really, this demonstrates that she did have this fear of criticism or disruption, and she simply did not want to hear it. Another thing to think about is Thomas Markle's refusal of staying the night. And this reminds me of Thomas also refusing to fly out to London multiple times in order to go and see Meghan. This is something that we've seen a lot. So let's assume that this is something that's happened a lot with her relationship with her father. And actually, I believe in the same book, Tom Bower's Revenge, there were times that Meghan would invite her dad even to Toronto in her Suits days, and her dad would refuse. One thing I really believe in is that past behavior is the best predictor of future relevant behavior. And if Thomas Markle has repeatedly refused to stay the night or fly over to be with Meghan, we can assume that he would have refused, not going back home to Mexico. So Meghan asking her father to stay overnight, she knew he would refuse, and this is a way for her to test boundaries. So an example of this could be a narcissist might frame an offer in a way they know will be declined, creating an excuse to later blame the other person for being unavailable. And we know that Meghan did do this later. And I believe in Tom Bauer's book there were times that this was mentioned, that Meghan would say to her dad, like, you didn't come and visit me when I was in Toronto, or X, Y, and Z. Please correct me if I'm wrong, but that is something I vaguely remember. So now let's get into that article that was published around Thanksgiving in 2016. This article is titled, Meghan Markle Spends Thanksgiving with Parents While Prince Harry Continues Tour of the Caribbean, and this was published November 25, 2016. Meghan Markle and Prince Harry kicked off the holiday season thousands of miles apart. The Suits actress and Los Angeles native celebrated Thanksgiving with her parents, sharing a snapshot of her dinner table Thursday evening alongside a message of gratitude, giving thanks for so many things, including these two gems who brought me into this world. Happy Thanksgiving from my family to yours. So this shows you that Tom Bauer saying that both her parents were there. This is a true story, and that article that I talked about earlier in this video that was published in 24 that only mentioned Doria is trying to create distance between Meghan and her father. In my opinion, Meghan's gratitude post is self-centric, but it's accompanied by a photo of her trying to create a positive image of herself, emphasizing her family values while subtly positioning herself as grounded and relatable. The timing of the post also, while Harry was on royal duties, could suggest a calculated move to maintain visibility and relevance in the public eye, and we know that Meghan does this all the time. We know actually she does it to this day when she wants to control her narrative, and we've seen time and time again when there is positive news or an event that comes out about Prince William and Princess Catherine, all of a sudden something about Meghan comes out too. So this just shows her that this is not just an odd event or incident that happened, but this is a pattern of behavior. The article continues, meanwhile, the famous royal was attending to official duties in the Caribbean as part of his 2-week tour of the islands. Prince Harry left for the trip on November 20th, and within the first few days of his excursion has mingled with local officials, school children, and even released a few endangered sea turtles back into the ocean. It's not hard to understand why Meghan is so sweetened with her new, I think that's pronounced beau. Sorry, I always have a problem pronouncing stuff, so I think that's how it's pronounced. The article continues, and while People reports Harry and Meghan are currently unable to communicate with each other due to the ship's lack of cell phone reception, the American actress couldn't help but make somewhat of an appearance during the trip. During a reception held in the Prince's honor Monday, Antigua and Barbuda, sorry if I pronounce it wrong, Prime Minister Gaston Brown suggested the region as a potential honeymoon spot. So this is Red Flag City. They've only been public for a couple of weeks. They've only been dating a couple of months, and there's this jump to immediately assume they're going to go on their honeymoon. And we'll continue the article and you'll see there's even more reinforcement of this prediction. I understand that there may be a new addition to the royal family very soon, Brown said. I'm told that there may be a princess, and I just want to say that should you make the decision to honeymoon, then Antigua and Barbuda want to welcome you. Aside from his pair of rosy cheeks, Harry has made no mention of his relationship with Markle during his time in the West Indies, and she's not expected to join him on the official trip. Okay, so let's analyze this a little bit. There is this public rush to romantic assumptions. Despite them only being public for 3 weeks, there's already this speculation about marriage and her potential as a princess. This highlights the speed which Meghan's relationship with Harry became a platform for grand assumptions, which she may have subtly encouraged to elevate her status. And I think that this would not be surprising. I think this princess narrative is also something that Meghan encouraged. So it's almost like she's trying to create or craft this fairy tale-like narrative to align with a vision of herself destined for prominence, destined for royalty. Another thing to mention here is that she makes a public appearance even though she's not present. In my opinion, this reflects her ability to remain part of the conversation even when not physically present. This is a trait that's often associated with narcissists who seek to control the narrative. This article aligns with this idea of Meghan being in this fairy tale relationship. And this is a characteristic that's seen in narcissists where they are seeking roles that elevate their status and image. So I'm curious to know, what do you all think? Do you all see the same things I'm seeing? This very premature rush relationship, even in the public eye. Do you think Meghan influenced these articles at all? I want to say that Meghan planted the story, but it's hard to say because someone else from a different country is the one that's mentioning this honeymoon thing. So I'm not sure about that, but it's definitely suspicious. So please leave your opinions in the comments. I'd love to hear them. If this was interesting to you, please like and subscribe. Please share it with your friends. I hope you all enjoy your Thanksgiving. I appreciate you listening to this, and I will talk to you all soon. Goodbye.